this paint runs you at 20 bucks Canadian for a can, and I bought it from a place right here in Toronto called Peripheral. Stereo SID sound. So I bought a board from a guy in Finland named Tony Vallian, and he calls it the Dual SID. So this is a daughter board that you put onto the 64 motherboard in place of the original SID, and it's got 2 SIDs in it. And you can mix and match them. So the first SID has to be the same one that was originally on that 64, whether it was the 6581 or the newer 8580. But the second SID can be either. So what I've done on mine is I've got a 6581 left channel and an 8580 right channel. And that does some pretty interesting things. The second SID address, so you can set it to D400, which is the default. And both SIDs are playing exactly the same tunes at the same time. Stereo. And you can also select from any of these other addresses. D420 is very popular with all these European demos. D500 is a little less common, used for the mod player and so on. And then D and DF00 are compatible with SID to SID and SID Symphony cartridge and so on. So it's a tiny PCB, it pops in right into the case. And when you set it to D400, the games and the existing music programs will work without any modification. They can't tell that there's 2 SIDs there. They just right into the SID registers and go to the chips. But because you would get this even if the SIDs were the same, because each SID is slightly different. But it's really drastic in my case because I have a different SID for each channel. So I automatically get stereo. And it's just because the filter response is very different between the 6580 and the 8580. So things like sine waves that are sound exactly the same as the SID chips sound like they're in the center. But if you get something like the noise channel, like explosions of games, the filters are different on both chips, so you get a stereo effect. And it's all without any code modifications, so games sound really good. And it's a pretty inexpensive board. You can buy just a PCB for €5. Get all the components for €10, or fully assembled for €15, which is $22. And there's the web address. There's Google for you to listen. Any questions on this? So next, multiple kernels. So what I've done is, this is a little bit old school, but I set up a 27C512 EEPROM. So it's got 64K in it, so I have 32K. So I have 4 8K ROMs. And I just put a switch on the other 2 address lines so I can select whichever kernel I want. So in my setup, I've got the original 64 kernel. I've got Jiffy DOS, which I purchased legally from Jim Bray from gopherretro.com. Third is a custom kernel that I made myself, just setting custom colors with my name, startup message, and so on. And the fourth one is currently blank, because I haven't decided what to put in. So I've got some possibilities. There's an auto boot ROM floating around, which is great for PBSs. The first thing it does is start popping without any user interaction. I thought it would be fun to put the Japanese C64 ROM and play around with that. Lots of possibilities. And pretty obvious reset button. The momentary push button. Grab it. Various capacitors. And there's instructions there on Ray Carlson's install reset button on any of the 64 models. And a case badge. So I found a Commodore PC-10-3 on eBay for $5. The best part of it was the case badge. So I ripped the case badge off and put it on 64. And the C-128 power supply. The original 64's power supplies are notoriously unreliable, and the Commodore 128 supply is reportedly a lot more stable, beefier. So I got a little 128 power plug from the infamous ClickHere software back in 2002, and just built myself a little adapter box to take from the 128 power plug adapter to the 64 plug. And I've got all this set up. And now we're getting into peripherals. This is a little less hacky. This is me just buying stuff to tack onto the 64 just to enhance its functionality. So this is a little bit of commercial. So to start with, I have 4 joystick ports on my 64. You can buy this adapter from these guys at Vision or individual computers in Germany. And so what it does, it plugs into the user port using 2 joystick ports. There was about a dozen games out there that support the interface. They were either written specifically for the interface or people modified original games, like International Karate has a 3-player version that's now been added to use the extra ports. Someone's modified Mule, classic Mule, used to hide around the keyboard to control the players through the keyboard. So now you can use this adapter. Another one is Marble Madness. It turns out the code for 4 players was already in there in the commercial version. So someone went to found this code, modified it to use this interface to races. So that's €15, again about 22 Canadian, or the schematics are online. So build your own. Any questions on this one? Can you hear me at the back? Overall? I also have a joystick port switcher. So this switches between port 1 and port 2 with the press of a button. The whole idea is to save wear and tear on the ports from plugging and unplugging and switching joysticks around. For this joystick, I don't know which one you're on. So all you do is click the button and it swaps the ports for you. But in my case, I've got a mouse set up on one and a joystick on the other, so I can switch between the keyboard, mouse, joystick, sports. It also works with paddles and light pads. So you don't have to change anything with the software. It's all hardware in the games. Click the end and swap this out. This is a little more expensive. It's 35 Australian or about 38 Canadian. And there's the website there. cd.cbmb.com. And again, my favorite peripheral ever, the IDE 6424. This is the kitchen sink of 64 peripherals. It does everything. I demoed it every World of Commodore. It's just amazing. So it gives you IDE, which is its primary function. So you can hook up hard drives and CD-ROMs. This is 64. It has a compact flash slot. And you can use them all simultaneously. Like in my case, I have my hard drive is device 12, CD-ROM is device 13, compact flash is device 15. It also has Ethernet, so this thing right here is this is an Amiga clock port, so you can plug in an RNet and get Ethernet off of it. And it also has USB. And what the USB gets you is you can then run a USB cable between your IDE 64 and your PC, and use your PC's hard drive as a virtual drive. So it's kind of surreal, you know, doing load stream and Commodore 14 this, Excel spreadsheets and stuff. And you can do it. The IDE 64 also gives you many software enhancements. It gives you a basic extension, so you have all basic commands for supporting everything in the IDE 64. You can make directories, remove directories, change directories, dir. CD open is a fun one. And because it's integrated into BASIC, you can use BASIC as a little scripting language. Do all this from BASIC. For example, I wrote a little BASIC program that would pick from, I got a list of 500 games in my games directory. It would just do a game number equals random 1 times 15 times 500 and wrote it down. And I could change directories and so on from BASIC. The IDE 64 also gives you a machine language monitor built right in. It's one of the best I've used. It's rivals the one in the Super Snapshot. It gives you a PC style BIOS for configuration, so you can go in and set the time around the clock, so you can set the time and so on. And they've made it look just like a BIOS setup on a PC, so that's kind of surreal. It's very helpful. You can assign all your device numbers and configure it in 10 different ways. And it has a split screen file manager, so suddenly you have 20 gigs of stuff on your Commodore 64. To make that easier to manage, it has a built-in file manager, split screen, you can put 2 drives in range.
Does the USB port work the other way? Can we read what's on the compact flash from the PC?
No. In theory, you could, because the USB, like the FTDI chip, is visible in the 64's address space. So no one's going to drive it to it.
Does the monitoring run through USB as well? Can you monitor it from the PC?
No. No, the monitor's all. So here's some screenshots of the various things. So here's the BIOS setup. Here's the machine language monitor, and then there's the split screen file manager. They've gone for, as much as possible, they've really gone for compatibility. So one interesting thing is the cassette port is still available, whereas other things like Jiffy DOS, you lose capability of your cassette port. You can still use your cassette port. It does work well with Jiffy DOS. Like they designed it with compatibility with Jiffy DOS in mind. All single file games work as is. So I have a single directory with 500 games all in one directory, but they're all single file. Multi-file games, they will work if they precisely match the CD-ROM specification in terms of kernel calls and so on, but most don't. So this is where you do lose some compatibility, because a lot of commercial games would reprogram a 1541 drive until they load faster architecture. So there is no 1541 in the loop with the ID64, so that won't work. But enthusiasts have gone in and fixed up a couple hundred games. They will run directly off of the ID64. But the most common issue is that most games are hard-coded, and utilities are hard-coded to run off of device number 8. So it's very simple but very sloppy programming here. They just assume that everybody uses device 8. So quite often these fixes to these games have just gone in to find that 1 byte in memory where it has 8 hard-coded. To allow to use the current drive number instead. So you change 2 bytes. The best part about the ID64 is the raw speed. It's 100 times faster than a 1541. So most games load in a fraction of a second. Like if anyone's to look at it, like the last Ninja, you just press, you don't even have to type load, there's a programmable function that you use and by the time your fingers use the game loads. It's unbelievable. Remember I was saying before about getting quick fix for limited time? This is how I accomplished that. And it is a little expensive. It's 99 euros, so about 130 Canadian. But it's totally enhanced my 64 usage experience. And that's where you buy the new ID64 straight up. Any questions about the ID64? I do have it set up over the next group, so more references.
USB flash drive for the USB port?
No. It's the USB just gets you the data transfer. But there's not, for a USB, really the USB drives, there's an alternative. I'll talk about that. Yeah, it's something called the 1541. So a couple of photos. So they're painted again. We got a 64C that's kind of yellowed and covered that up and painted it with this vinyl dye stuff. There's the left side. So I've got my two switches for selecting the kernel address. I've put in a little headphone jack for the stereo output from the dual SID card. And again, convenience being the buzzword here, my second SID address. I've got a rotary switch where I just dial the address I want it to be rebooted and all set. On the right side is just the reset button. And because we're a computer show, that's the thing under the hood. So this is why I write software kind of professionally and not electronics. And then that's just my way through this. So I've got a little terminal strip in here for my 5 volts of ground that I'm pulling things off of. You can see where the switch is, kernel switch is, 27C512 for the kernels. The dual SID board is here, stereo output, and the reset button. I found this was a pretty good spot for the reset button. Here you've got your power plug, so it's a little protected from accidental knocks. Any questions on the internet?
Have you had any luck in reproducing the Commodore 64 smell? You know what I mean? Like brand new Commodore 64, turn it on, makes it work?
No.
No? kind of things computer versions.
And there it is all together. There's my setup at home that I brought. But there are many alternatives out there. I'm going to present some of the more popular ones. So these are ways I could have gone. I do own a bunch of these too, but I don't use them. So alternatives to the ID64. Another one is the 1541 Ultimate. This is a little different because this is a complete re-implementation of the 1541 in an FPGA. So you load up like a USB drive or an SD card, load it up with your D64 PRG files, stick it in, and you can use them. So the compatibility is 100% because it is a 1541. It really is a 1541 totally reproduced in an FPGA. It appears on the IC bus, whereas the ID64 goes into a cartridge port. This goes on the IC bus. But you see where this is going. It emulates the 1541 right down to the slowest. But the capability of this thing is amazing. It can simulate 2 drives, so it's simulating 2 1541s simultaneously. And the emulation is so good that it emulates the sounds of the virtual drive. Like you can run a disk and you hear a non-existent drive and its head rattling all over the place. You can run disk alignment software on it. You can run drive music. Remember the drive music that bash the head around to play music? You can do that on the 1541. But it's always a perfectly aligned 1541 that doesn't actually exist on that. It's quite expensive. It's 129 euros, so 160 Canadian or a bit more. And the 1541 Ultimate is where you're going to get that. Can you still hear me at the back? Another alternative is the micro IEC. This is a compact flash SD card reader. This also uses the IEC bus, so it doesn't use up your cartridge port. Works great with Jiffy DOS, and that's $50 US. Plus extras, you can get daughterboards for various options, and that's available from jimbrain.com. And its website is overretro.com. So I'm using an RNet for my Ethernet. The problem with the RNet is because it relies on the Amiga clock port, so you need something like a retro replay or an ID64 that gives you that clock port. So get the RNet, which is about $60, and $100. So again, Jim Brain has designed something called the 64 NIC Plus. This is a total standalone cartridge. It's just a cartridge plugged into the back of your 64, and it's $50, so it's even cheaper than the RNet. But it is 100% RNet compatible. So this lets you get your 64 online based on Ethernet. Okay, again, available from Jim Brain right here. Dual SID. A couple of options for dual SID. There's also one called the internal stereo SID. This is available from these guys, digitalaudioconcepts.com. It's a little more expensive, it's $40, but it gives you more addressing options, and it also cancels out all the bus ones, so a little bit more functionality than the one I've got. I would have gone for this one, except that it was announced a little after I bought it. I'm pretty happy with the dual SID. There's also one from Germany called the Stereo SID. It's similar to the other ones, but it adds the Digifix. So, who doesn't know what Digis? So there was a little bit of a bug in the original 6581 circuitry that if you did a poke into the volume register, you would get that popping sound. Well, it turns out that if you do that, change the volume register really quickly, because it pops, give you nice, crunchy, digitized samples for speech, digitized drums, and so on. So a lot of games and demos use this little imperfection to great advantage. But then when Commodore changed the audio circuitry for the 8580, they fixed that. And so suddenly all this digitized music doesn't work anymore. They were SIDs. So what Stereo SID does is, even with an older SID, it recreates the original bug in the circuitry to give you that nice snappy digi. mix and match SID types. So the stereo and SID is much more flexible. You can have any combination of any SIDs in any on any motherboard. It is quite a bit more complicated to install, and there's the website where you can get it. Or I do have one for sale. Hoping to get $50 for it. And alternatives for multiple kernel ROMs. So there's this thing, I have no idea how you pronounce that. And it's kind of neat. It's a little plug-in board that you plug into your keyboard inside the keyboard connector inside your 64. And when you power up, you have 1 second to select one of your kernels with the function keys, and it takes care of all the addressing for you. So whereas I've got all the complicated switches on the side, this one you just switch your 64 on and then do one from the function keys. I get 35 Australian, 38 Canadian, and it's from the same guy that's the German port switcher, CD-ROM. Another option is this ROM eliminator, again from Jim Brain, right here in Modded Commodore. It's a 128K flash-based ROM alternative. So this is something you can program more easily. Anyway, it's $10. It comes in 2 versions, 24 or 28 pages, and it can be used to replace any ROM, not just the kernel. And another very exciting new option for multiple kernel ROMs is the Easy Flash 3. Stay tuned for this afternoon when Jim's going to be demoing that. So that's been my little hobby project for the last several years. Any questions on any of that?
What's next?
I should sit and play some games with my kids. Sorry?
Wi-Fi.
Well, there's these guys down in Portland, Oregon who are working on a thing called the Flyer modem, which is supposed to have Wi-Fi. But my 64 is hardly usable because it's small. It's been decent in the last several years, so I should keep it together and play some games. LCD monitors should work quite as is. Oh, Tom Love had if your LCD monitor takes S video in, then it will work right away. Otherwise, you can't get the LCD monitor if the S video from the Commodore into VGA. Yeah, Tom, come here.
I can demonstrate for later if you want.
Sorry, Tom.
Maybe post some of the URLs, maybe on the email list or keep on website.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, just for those of us who are away.
Yeah, those were yeah, maybe I'll post the whole.
Those of us who didn't start this room until 3 minutes ago.
Oh, do I have to start again? Yeah, I guess I'm on the hook now to write an article for the teapot newsletter. Great, well, thanks for your attention. I do have my I do have my 64 set up over in the next room. I've got stereo speakers and everything. All these gadgets there set up so for a closer look. Great, enjoy the show.